Well, looky here. You are listening to someone who is bold, authentic, diverse, unpredictable. Baby, I am unapologetically Ramon, and you have entered my zone, the QB zone, baby. Hello, somebody.
And there's no objection.
So I'm excited, a little nervous, but I'm excited for this episode because one of the things that I feel is very important in our community is to address mental health. Mental health is something that a lot of times isn't addressed for various reasons, which we will discuss. I am excited because those who know me know that I have very excitedly participated in therapy and appreciated the journey and the outcome. And I think I would be remiss if I did not talk about mental health and not share the person who has helped me and been influential in my journey with it. So for those who have heard me talk about therapy nonstop, those who have seen the growth that I've had, this is the person who is a huge part of it, besides God, of course. This is the person who's a huge part of it. This is Darlise Baron. She is the founder, owner, and everything great about Baron Counseling Center. So, Darlise, go ahead and say hello to the people. I'm so glad to have you today.
Hello, hello, hello. Hope all is well. It's always a pleasure, when you reach out, for a session. So I'm glad to be here and hopefully, what I say today can make a difference in someone's life and continue, to make a difference in your life. So I'm really happy to be here today.
So, who is Darlise Baron? What brought you to mental health?
Whew, okay. um, I always wanted to be a social worker growing up. And after moving down here from up north, I decided to pursue that and going in to get my master's at Barry University and then getting licensure. And close to 7 years ago, I decided to open private practice after being in the community working at hospitals and another private institution. So I'm here now, licensed, practicing, and I'm in the pursuit of getting my doctoral degree, hopefully in a couple of months, if I could ever finish this dissertation and get this monkey off my back.
Right. Yes.
It's been a King Kong,
Uh-huh.
but hopefully, we'll do that. But I always wanted to help and to see, I love seeing the difference in people, how they came in and the outcome. And when they leave, how are they and how much better they are as human beings, as people that love themselves versus when they came in and that's not where they were. So for me, the outcome is always great.
Absolutely. So, dealing with mental health, especially with the Black community, we all know that there are some stigmas. And I just want to read a few things that I want your opinion on. So, I did some research, and it says that only 1 in 3 Black Americans who could benefit from mental health treatment actually receive it. Black individuals are less frequently included in research, which means their experiences with symptoms or treatments are less likely to be taken into consideration. And lastly, a public poll was done and found that 63% of African Americans believe depression was a personal weakness, and only 31% believed it was a health problem. In your opinion, what do you think about these stigmas of mental health in the Black community, and how do you think they can be alleviated?
I have to say thank you to reality TV. Reality TV has made therapy in the Black community like, oh, I'm going to see my therapist. Like it's so normal. They normalized it for us and it's okay. Um, when you talk about statistics, we go back to systemic racism and where They don't take account into the Black community, and where we do count, we do matter, we do have pain. And so they think that we're the superhero and we wear these capes and we can handle it because we handle worse. And no, we all have the same need. We all have, we suffer from depression, we suffer from bipolar, we suffer from schizophrenia. And because of our history, we have the older adults that are like, oh, just beat it out of them, or no, they'll be okay. And you hear the word, oh, she's just crazy, and we minimize the word crazy because we think that's normal. They're just crazy. No, it's real. So many people have been, they've died because of their mental health issues, and the police doesn't understand and just think that we're just being aggressive because we're Black. Right. And not understanding that we do have mental health issues, that we need help, and we are we're capable of changing. We're capable of seeing the difference between right and wrong, and maybe with some medication or some therapy, and just having someone that really cares about you will make a difference. And not being judged, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, being judged and being seen as less than or as a weakness, like you just said, that having depression is a weakness, having anxiety is a weakness, being scared is a weakness. When you're talking about our biggest, well, our street people, right? Quote unquote. And, these guys are on the street and they're big and they're tough and, what? And yet deep inside they're hurting, they're scared, and they don't know what to do with it. They can't go and trust their friends to be like, yo man, this is how I'm feeling, right? So they got to keep it inside. They got to continue to have this persona of this tough guy when inside they're really not. You know what I'm saying? But because of society, because of community, because of how I want you to look at me, then I'm going to hold it all in. And when I crack and I break, then it was someone else that did it. And if you're from the islands, it was voodoo. If it was Santeria, it was this. It's never the individual that was actually sick or that is sick and that has crossed over and suffering, with some mental health issues, because we didn't catch it on time, right? One of the things that we know growing up is that majority of Black boys in school, they have ADHD. Oh, that's normal. Yeah, it's normal at home for you not to sit your butt down until your parents tell you to, but at school is a little different. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to sit down, you need to pay attention. So we have to work on that. And if we look at statistics, we have more African American young men that are diagnosed with ADHD than our white counterparts, right? They both can be the same numbers, but we don't know that. But soon as the kids start acting up, ADHD, we need to put them on medicine, we need to do this. So what about processing their thoughts and feelings? What happened this morning? What happened last night? What are they seeing in their community that's causing them to behave in an outwardly fashion versus keeping it inward, right? So it's all those things that I see. I've worked with all groups and, all age groups, and different arenas and different, areas in Dade County. So I've seen the difference when your child is exposed to certain traumatic events versus not being exposed, versus just being spoiled. There is a difference of how children perceive things. And then we grow up to being adults. And how do we perceive things as adults? Do we see ourselves as victims or do we see ourselves as victors? And it's a fine line, and it's very hard to change from being a victim to a victor, because you know what? I know this person, I know the victim, right? But I need to work to being a victor. Do I want to work? Do I have that in me to, to be successful when you have 50 other trusting adults that are telling you you're about nothing, you're going to be nothing, you're never going to amount to anything. So those negative core beliefs are constantly going in your ears. And here's Darlese, you got this. Oh, go ahead. And it's like, okay, yeah, that one person telling me this, and I'm supposed to believe you. How? And you are who? Right? So the greatest part in my job and, helping, others is to see, again, the change, right? Where all these individuals telling you you're about nothing, and now you're proving one after the other. You know, I am about something. I can't change these negative beliefs. I can't change these negative things that people tell me to this great individual that I know I can be and that I am.
Right. For me, I know my first experience with anything therapeutic was I was about 9 or 10. And that was when I had came back to live with my grandmother. And she felt like I needed to talk to someone because of her finding out about, and let me just pause right here. What some of you guys don't realize is that this is not just a recording for me to share Darlese with you all and her expertise, but this is also part of a session, my therapy session, that I want to be authentic and share with y'all. So you're probably gonna hear some things that I'm gonna be talking about that some of you probably have been like, I've never shared with you. So let me just say that. But when about 9 or 10, my grandmother found out about the physical abuse that I had gone through with where I was living in Tallahassee. And so she felt like I needed therapy. And I just remember it being this Caucasian woman, sweet lady, don't get me wrong, but I never felt comfortable sharing everything. I just like to go because the lady had snacks and she would always play games. I've always had to play little games or whatever. And so I would give a little piece of information just because I felt like, let me be nice because she gave me some snacks. Let me be nice and share one little piece of something. But I never opened up to the lady. Then when I was in high school, my grandmother felt like I had anger issues. And so she had me, without my permission, forced me to be in anger management. That was a white man. That didn't go nowhere. I not nan session what I taught, and I would just stare and give these like dirty looks because I felt like, first of all, everybody in here has committed some crime. They asked them been in DJJ or some foolishness. Why am I in this session with these juvenile delinquents? Because that wasn't my life. I played sports with the church, had good grades in school. Why am I with these people? So I would just sit there and get these dirty looks. The man literally said to me one session that I intimidated him. I guess because how I would just stare at him during the session. And he said I made him feel like I want to jump on him in the session. Needless to say, I never came back. Because at that point, he was telling my grandma, I'm not sure if you want to keep spending your money to bring him here. It's not doing anything. Went through my 20s. And I would say, as I started to get into my early 30s, I felt like a lot of positive things were happening. But I knew that there was a lot of things from childhood in my 20s that I needed to unpack, that I needed to heal from, that I needed to release. And so I started my journey into looking for therapy. But it was very important for me to have certain components. I needed somebody who looked like me. They had to be colored. Black, male or female, I didn't care initially, but it needed to be colored. Then I started, people would recommend certain people to me. I would do different, researching online or whatever, and nobody worked. I think I might have went to 3-4 different people, didn't work. One lady had goals in her mouth. She had this hairstyle from BAPS. And I'm like, what in the hell did I sign up for? She had no education, only finished high school. And when and I'm the kind of person, I'm gonna ask about your credentials because first of all, I'm a professional as well. I work in a field where you have to have credentials in the social work field. So I'm asking her credentials. Mama told me she don't have, I lie to you not, she didn't get her education from the land, she got her education from the Lord. And then I can't remember what she asked me, but at that time I had already released my first book. And I guess she had aspirations of being an author. So for the rest of the session, it was nothing about Ramon and what I want to work on therapeutically. She wants to talk about how I can benefit her as an author, how I can help her with her goal. Ma'am, this is not what I'm here for. So needless to say, I gave up. Until a good friend of mine, who you guys met on another episode, but I won't share her business, but a good friend of mine referred me to this person, which happened to be you. Not knowing that me and you had met in that other situation with one of my frat brothers, but I I feel like it was a perfect fit because not only had I prayed for it, but I also realized it might be beneficial for me to have someone who not just looked like me. They need to have some kind of relationship with the Lord. They needed to have the education, but I felt like they needed to be a parent of a male child. I needed someone who had a parenting component in their life because I felt like that's something that would benefit me because some of my trauma came from childhood. And if you don't have any experience of what it's like to be a parent of a male child, you're probably not going to benefit me when it comes to unpacking some of that. And so I always felt like this was the perfect situation. You definitely are one of those therapists that make you do the hard work because a few times you've given me homework and I say this stuff is too much in my business. But, you know, I want to go back to the beginning. When I first walked into your office that first day, and I'll never forget the session because I probably cried for most of it. What were your thoughts after that session? Did you think it was going to be a long, rough road ahead of me? What did you think?
Honestly, seeing you again, you know, like you said, I had contact with you prior, and I just thought, like, he's so nice. Oh, how nice he was to volunteer. And I met Ramon when I just opened up private practice. So Ramon decided, you know, his frat brother brought him in to do intakes. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so it was a very short-lived interaction that we had. And I just thought, like, that was very nice of him to come in and just do this. And, you know, he went on. So I didn't have a chance to say goodbye. I didn't really had a chance to interact. And then coming into the office, it was just like, oh my God, it's you. So, you know, for me, it was just like, wow, he's back. He's back into my circle. And that was the very first thing that we talked about was like, hey, you know, I know you, right? And it was like, okay, so what we're going to do about this? Are you comfortable? I need to make sure that you're comfortable with me knowing a little bit about you besides just your name, right? And that's all I knew was his name and that he did this and he was nice, nothing else. But just hearing, you know, during the intake session and hearing, you know, certain things that you were saying, I was like, wow, who would have thought? Oh my goodness. And usually that's like everyone, you know, we judge the book by its cover, and, you know, we this new term now, imposter syndrome, right? I call it fake it till you make it. But hey, who am I, right? Old school. So, you know, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot that he had to go through. And as long as he was willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with him. So after leaving, that was it. That was my thought. It was like, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. Okay, all right, we can do this. We got this. You know, so here I am convincing myself we got this. And I hope he knows he got this too, because we have to get this.
Right.
So, you know, just going through the process has been a lot for me, and just sitting with certain, you know, with certain clients, you feel like you're having a conversation. And I feel like that's what therapy needs to be. I can go as far as you take me, and if you don't take me there, I back off. But just know we're going to come back around to where I need to go or where I want to go.
Oh yeah,
right?
you will. Yeah, you will.
I can believe that you're in control though. So it's those kind of things. It's trying to have a conversation with someone that they feel comfortable enough that I am their sister, I am their mother, I am the auntie, I am, you know, whatever I need to be for you during that session. Because subconsciously, you know, I'm the therapist. Consciously, I could be whatever you wanted me to be at that time. We just need to get through the tunnel and out of the tunnel to where you're feeling safe and you're feeling comfortable with talking to me and disclosing all that you have to disclose, because not everyone can take it. And, you know, we go back to the beginning when you're saying that, you know, you're going to these therapists, they're, you know, the white woman, then the white man. How much can they possibly relate? There are some that are out there. I'm not going to take that away. But a lot of times, like, you can find Black therapists that can relate to all different nationalities versus white therapists that can relate to us, right? They're going to get it, you know, for a certain degree, but certain things, there's like, You know, certain things, like even for, you know, for me, when I have to deal with, you know, white clients, like certain things, I'm like, okay, I can help you with your emotions, but can I relate really?
Right.
Not really. But, you know, we're going to get through this. As long as you're willing to work, we're going to get through it.
Absolutely.
So it was definitely an experience.
Yes. And, you know, I think some of the things that I am grateful that you allowed me to, or helped me realize, is that I doubt myself a lot. I don't give myself the opportunity to kind of pat myself on the back because I always feel like I'm behind. I always feel like I have to catch up. You know, I realized that for most of my life, I've always been running from something or running to something. And I remember you did this activity where you had me go home and list everything that I felt like I'd accomplished. And you also wanted me to add to the list everything that other people said to me that I'd accomplished. And I brought it in, and I want to say it was, I had written on every line, it was probably like two pages, or maybe 2.5. And I remember you asking me after we read through it, what do I feel? How do I feel? And I felt nothing. Like I'd accomplished, whether it was the book, whether it was, you know, pursuing my master's and doctorate while having health issues and working full time, whether it was the first one in my family to do this, the first one in my family to go to college. You know, I'm the first person my grandmother raised that wasn't a teen parent. You know, I accomplished a lot, but I had no emotions to it because I would never allow myself to celebrate me. And that was it. That was big for me because it really did make me take a different perspective at how I treat myself. Because I give of myself to others with no hesitation. But I don't always take care of Ramon. I don't always appreciate Ramon. I don't know. I don't know about, and just recently, the past few years, after working with you, I've allowed myself to look at myself and be appreciative of me, be appreciative of the things I've accomplished, recognize what I bring to the table. And I think I got to that point when I no longer sought validation of the people's opinions of me. Because, you know, we talked about friends, the people I've had in my life that are no longer there. And for so long, if you liked Ramon, if you needed Ramon, if you had a certain opinion of Ramon, I felt like that gave me happiness. But it as soon as I served whatever purpose, you was going about your business. So now what do I think of myself? So now I need you, I need more people in order for me to think anything positive about myself. And so I thank God that I got out of that. But it took a long time. And I made a lot of mistakes with relationships and friendships prior to me even getting to that point. And I feel like I had a different lease on life. I got to enjoy life differently because I got to make myself the purpose. I got to make myself the reason. I got to live for me. And I think that I never recognized that until you touched on that. Because even when I'd had conversations with, you know, pastors and because, you know, I come from the church. So, you know, in the church, they say pray it out, or you go talk to the pastor after church, or, you know, during his office hours. No one ever touched on that. What made you pull that out, or what made that speak out so loudly to you?
You know, I think that's the gift God has given me, and I have to be thankful for that. As I have sessions with people, certain things will come, certain questions will come, and I'll even question myself. Why did I say that? Okay, whatever, you know, and I'll keep on moving. And I remember when you were sharing all the stuff that you did, and it was just a matter of fact, yeah, you know, I did this, I did that. What? And I'm like, whoa, really? What? And
That is so
the picture, the picture that came to me for you was that one chair in this big empty place, and he could not see that there was a chair there. And so how do I bring all the other furniture inside the room where you can see that you matter. That one chair mattered. If you didn't have that one chair there, the room would definitely be empty, and you're not empty. You're full. You know, you are this great person. You have so many great qualities about yourself, and people are drawn to you for those qualities. They're not drawn to you because you can give them. It's what you offer. How do you make them feel when they are around you? And how do you know that you're important? Excuse me. How do you know that you're important? How do you know that you matter? And so just bringing your outside into the inside. And I think, you know, a lot of us work visually. So when you could see the list of what I thought about myself and what other people say all over the place, like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on, hold on. And, you know, and we do this thing and we beat ourselves up and we have like no self-preservation.
Right.
You know, if Ramon is taking care of all these people, who takes care of Ramon? So Ramon needed to take care of Ramon. And I think, you know, God works in mysterious ways, right? And I just feel like when I actually work with someone, it was meant to be lifetime, season, lifetime, or, you know, the purpose of it. Because then with all the skills, with all the stuff that we worked on, made you prepare for the bigger things, the bigger traumatic events that took place and, you know, that has taken place within your life, that you're able to bounce back. Where the Zoom is about to end, is that what you're getting, or that's just me? I think it's me. We're about to get cut off in a minute. I'm
That's probably the
on,
other thing you had.
yeah, it's my kids' Zoom versus my own computer that was acting up. So if we get cut off, I'll sign right back on.
Okay.
Okay. But it's fulfilling all of those needs and making this person who they came in with, who they reached up to be, and the greatness that you have it within you. So that is always the work, going through that process.
Yeah, and I think that it definitely spilled over in different areas. I feel like as a social worker, it made me even better. I think that when you worked with me to pull back certain layers, I was able to even be a more effective social worker, working with clients who have different challenges and different problems. So I definitely think it's a blessing. It definitely, I will say, timing is everything. I definitely feel like timing is everything. And I feel like had certain traumas that we know I've endured the past 2 years, had it happened during any of that time, I don't think I would have handled or rebounded yet because I didn't have the tools. And I was still working on fixing all of what's inside here, you know? So it makes me wonder, or I can't even fathom just how much worse it would have been just about how worse it is, even with having the tools, you know?
Yeah.
But I think being able to have a sense of awareness, I think I've started to notice certain signs over the past few years when certain bad habits, certain things were building up, you know, emotionally and mentally. I was able to recognize certain signs. I was able to adapt, you know, and I would be like, I think I need a session. I need to schedule a session, you know, because it went from, I think, weekly to bi-weekly to monthly, and then as needed. Skip ahead. I think that when I realized, because you said something earlier about how you become whatever that person needs you to become, sister, auntie, friend, mom, whatever. And I think when I finally really realized that for me, you was more than just a therapist, was when I texted you and said my grandmother died. And I came to the session the next day, and I'm sitting there. I vaguely remember the session for obvious reasons, but I'm sitting there and I remember just sharing what had happened, you know, the phone calls and it happened the night before. And as I'm pouring my heart out and I'm crying, I looked up and you were crying. And I was like, what touched this human being that she's like, in a way, kind of sharing my pain, or something touched her as well. And for me, I felt like this is definitely a situation that's more than just a therapist. There's a connection, there's something here. Because I've always had my guard down when I came to sessions. I've shared God everything that I've shared. There's nothing I haven't shared. And to now see that from an emotional standpoint, you are sharing my pain, or at least in the moment, maybe it reminded you of something. I felt like that was amazing for me, because I felt like I wasn't alone. Because I knew that going forward, I was going to feel alone, because she was no longer, there. And those who know my story knows how close that relationship was. That meant something to me in that moment. That in the midst of that, my pain and me crying, I'm looking up and you're crying too, because a lot of times I've gone through things in life and I feel like people don't share or understand. Being misunderstood for me has been a big thing, because I feel like whether it's been friendships that have gone, whether it's been relationship with certain fraternity brothers, I feel like I've never been appreciated for who Ramon is. I feel like I've always been misunderstood. I feel like I've always been expected to meet a certain standard. And anytime I fall below that standard, I'm crucified. But other people can fall below that standard. They're celebrated or it's swept under the rug. And so I think that you also helped me realize how important some of the environments that I'm in, some of the company I keep, protecting my peace at all costs, and how I've done a disservice to myself with some of the friendships and relationships I've allowed myself to keep and be in. I don't know if I've ever thanked you, so I definitely want to thank you, because you were so there, and you were so there consistently in that moment. When I shared with you that she had died, when I texted you, I texted you. You have so been there, and then even just if we weren't having a session, you were checking on me consistently. Like, you really do go over and beyond for your clients. So if I don't, nobody ever thank you. I'm always in pain and sharing some crap. So I definitely, really from the bottom of my heart, really appreciate you for that, because I don't think I could have made it through these last 2 years, or almost 2 years since she passed, without that support system. Because I, in a lot of ways, I don't get it from other areas.
It's, and I guess that's one of the things, and you're quite welcome, but that's one of the things too that I find, knowing your story and knowing how close you were to your grandma, and that feeling and that loss. I mean, I was devastated, and I was just like, oh my God, okay, calm down, bring it back, right? And so it's the pain that I know you're in, the pain that you're going through, feeling like a part of your body was just chopped off, and with no Novocaine, right? Or no kind of painkiller. Right. And, like, oh God, okay, so how am I going to help him through this? I have to help him through this. How are we going to get through this? I have been
having some progress in life, and then that happened.
Yes. And so for me, it was, now we're back to our journey. It's not just your journey, it's our journey, right? Because the more successful you are, the better it is for everyone, right? And that's how I feel. Like, the better it is for everyone in society, better it is for me, to see you go through that. It was painful. It was really, really painful. And knowing, the relationship that you had with her, and how, you guys were so close. So me being there, like, I had to make sure you were good. That's just nature, I'll keep checking until you're good. The same way with sessions, right? When you first come in, I'll see you every week, and then every 2 weeks, then every 3 weeks in maintenance. So it's to make sure that you're stable, and okay, you're stable now. Okay, I could let go. You'll be okay. I know you'll reach back out if you need me, but I'm here for you. It's awesome to be able to do that, especially when you have your own practice, versus if I was working at some other community mental health place that I had to set some boundaries that, I'm sorry, but okay, that's as far as we can go with it. You know what I'm saying? when I've had people that I've been seeing for quite some time, it's, the first kind of year, it's okay, very professional. And, we're still professional now, but, very professional. This is how it is. And, as time progresses, you continue a relationship that is, hey, how are you doing? That check-in. How are you? Do you need anything? Are you okay? I can't do that with everyone. But the
Right.
people that I can't do it with, I definitely make sure that, I try my best to be there for them, especially at a time of need. We all need someone in our corner.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one thing that was, and I never thought I would ever do it, and I probably never really believed in it, but I remember one session because so the grief, and let me just say, I was still going to, as you know, I was still going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I only took, some people probably go through grief and they probably take a whole week or plus off. I took
Mm-hmm.
2 days off, 2 days off, and I went back to work. Um, I started having physical pain and I wasn't sleeping well. And I'll go ahead and share this. I was utilizing Benadryl and alcohol to numb the pain. Every night I was taking Benadryl and alcohol just to sleep. Because I would go to work because those who know me as a social worker or know me with the youth, I love working with kids. So when I'm at work, I 100% can throw myself into whatever they need. And now I have a temporary distraction from my life. However, when my day is over, I not have to deal with Ramon. And so during that period, I didn't want to deal with Ramon because I no longer recognized Ramon. I no longer was whole. Like my heart was broken, and I've never been in love. So that was my first heartbreak. And I never knew that heartbreak could manifest itself to be physical pain. I thought when I would hear about the shit in love songs on the movies, I thought it was a joke. I would laugh. But to really experience heartbreak and know that it can manifest into physical pains and I'm not sleeping, and it was crazy. And so one session, I remember you mentioned hypnosis to me. And I don't know what my face did, but I know inside I laughed. But at that point, the level of trust was so high, I was going to do any goddamn thing you recommended. So I remember coming back the next session. It might have been probably was a week or two later, and we did it. And for the first time since she died, I felt relaxed. The pains definitely went away. I definitely was sleeping better. And we did it one more time. I believe we only did it twice. We did it one more time. And I highly recommend, if you have a therapist that you are close, that you have a relationship with, and they recommend hypnosis, I thoroughly recommend you give it a try, because I think a lot of times when we think of hypnosis, our thought process of it can be misconstrued depending on what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
You watch TV, you watch movies, it can be misconstrued. You're going to be completely under. They're going to make you walk like a dog. Just dumb stuff we've seen in comedies. My first experience with it face to face was I was an undergrad student at FIU, and this hypnotist came, and he put these people under hypnosis and had them do all kind of bull crap. So it's everything but that. It's we as a patient tell you what the problem is and what that hypnosis does, what I felt it does from my experience, and you might can explain it better from a therapeutic standpoint. For me, I relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
The noise of the world was gone. I was no longer in my head. There was no voices in the back of my mind telling me this, that, and the third. My heart was able to breathe. My mind was able to breathe. And I was just able. It was just a release experience. I don't know what other words to use. I just felt a release. And like I said, I started sleeping better and I didn't have the pains anymore. And that really allowed me to push forward, so I highly recommend. Now, for those who, if I did explain it the best way, how would you, from a therapeutic standpoint, I guess, explain what hypnosis does when done right, of course?
I think you did a pretty good job, right? And it's just a deep relaxation. And, the biggest thing I tell people is that I can't make you do anything that you wouldn't do in your regular life.
Mhm.
So it is self-controlled, right? So I can't say every time you see red, I want you to do 10 jumping jacks. You wouldn't do that. So you wouldn't automatically do that, right? So when we see these entertainment and entertaining individuals that says, okay, when the music stops, you stop dancing and they're looking, it's because they're so engulfed in it, like they were able to be persuaded to do those things, right? So with the deep relaxation, it's very subconscious. So you're going under and, I do this whole, I set it all up for you. And, I remember Ramon's face. Yes, it was like, what, lady? Mm-mm. And so, and I think I brought somebody in that I did it, and I was like, okay, tell them about your experience.
Right.
It was another Black male. And he was like, and he, when I did it with him, the first thing he did, he was laughing. Like, we laughed for at least 2 minutes, and he was like, okay. All right, I'm ready. Go ahead. So again, the experience when you first have it, it's funny and it's weird, and then it's like, okay, let's try this, right? And you have to be able to trust the individual that you're working with. Absolutely. And able to let go. So letting go, it's the biggest thing, right? And just believing in the process. As we're doing sessions, like things that come up, like different specialties that I have will come up, and I'm like, let's try this, let's try that. So hypnosis was one of them that we did try, and just allowing your subconscious to open up and just absorbing all the stuff that I'm saying to you. And what I love about hypnosis is that I'm looking at the individual and they're just falling. The muscles are just relaxing. Everything is just going, just turning into like a noodle. And you wake up from it feeling refreshed, and it doesn't kick back in until something happens that you need to use it. And it kicks in at a time where you don't even realize it is kicking in. Right. So you're getting better, and a little part of your brain is saying, why am I getting better? What's happening here? And it's all the good stuff that I had put into the subconscious that's working for you, that is allowing you to continue to work better and to be able to let go of certain behaviors. Yeah. And like Ramon said, like, I have to know some stuff about you in order for me to kind of work through the process. Hypnosis works for smoking cessation, weight loss, traumas, pain. I've had people where they couldn't move their necks, and after we finished, they were like, oh, I don't need surgery anymore, I'm good. So the mind is a very powerful thing. And if you can get in there and you can help the individual to just change the perception of what is going on, it works, and it can work for you. But you have to be able to allow that to work and not feel like you're in control. Like, no, I can't let her, I can't, right. She can't get in there. No, you have to just let go.
Yeah, let it go. Yeah, because I've always had so much control over my life, my academics. I knew what I needed to do to accomplish whatever goal academics, being in organizations and having positions, and being at work and having control of my cases, having my side endeavors and businesses. And so I've always been in control. So, and I've always been in control of my emotions. That was a curse, really, because I got too good at it, because, like you said, you would not meet me and think that I've been through a lot of what I've been through. And I've even had close friends that when I finally opened up to them, or even the relatives, when I finally opened up to them about some things, they had no idea. And I remember, was it the last time I was home? Which ain't been that often for obvious reasons, but I want to say it was the last time I was home, one of my good friends saw me in a Walmart parking lot. And I had gotten to the point where when people asked me how I'm doing, I no longer felt the need to just say, I'm fine, I'm okay. That doesn't mean I got to go into detail about what I'm going through, but I no longer felt the need to put a smile on my face and say I'm fine or I'm okay. Like, I don't do that anymore. Like, people can tell I don't do that crap anymore. Yeah, I know you're very happy about that. It became too draining. And I feel like I was being fake. I was walking around being someone that I had trained myself to be, but I wasn't destined to be. and it becomes draining to carry that
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. And so I remember her saying to me, I wear it well. And I said, this is probably why when I go through things in life, I also can't blame people for not being there, and I needed them to be. Because I feel like I have confused people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people are so used to Ramon being so strong that people are so used to me going through something in life, maybe being down for a second, for a minute, and I always bounce back. I always keep it moving. But when this happened, and I was not bouncing back, and it was spilling over into all areas, I don't think people knew how to be there for me. That's relatives, that's friends. Yes, there were some people that I need to cut off. That's either here or there. But I do feel like there were some people who I had to go back and apologize for, whether it was my thoughts I had about them or whether it was the reasons why I chose to cut them out of my life. Because I really felt like as I started to heal, that I started to realize I confused people and they didn't know how to be there for that Ramon. Because this was the authentic Ramon, 100% authentic Ramon. They wasn't used to that aspect of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that was something that I've also realized about myself. I think where I'm at right now is that I have absolutely had progress. I think that my outlook has changed, how I respond, how I react to negative things that have happened have changed. You know, since she died, that I unfortunately went through more trauma. You know, I lost
Mm-hmm.
the brother, the gun violence, that was very tough. And then, you know, I lost a lot of people and things that I love, and that's trauma over trauma. And I think that, for example, when the brother died to gun violence, it was a year after my grandmother had passed. And it was right at the moment that I felt comfortable enough to go back home to Brevard County. And it was actually while I was in Brevard that I got the call. Had that happened 3 or 4 weeks prior, I probably would have been an effing mess. God did something that motivated me to go home at that point, because I don't have no problem sharing. I was temporarily, I don't know if you want to say homeless or couch surfing here in Miami last year. And I was living in a situation that was not positive for my health or my life. And I, against my better judgment, accepted someone's offer to live with them. And we all know how that was a decision I should have never made. Nonetheless, it needed to happen. And I'm glad it happened. Because I remember laying in the bed that I was laying in, and I was drawn to my grandma. I was drawn to go back home. Because anytime something has happened in my life that pushed me to a certain extent, I could call her or I could get on 95 North and go home. Something pulled me, and it was like she was calling. I go home, I get in my car, I go home. And I said, it's gonna be the first time I walk in this woman's house since her death by myself. Because when she died, I wasn't there, her uncle was there. Her uncle and his girlfriend was there. This is gonna be the first time I'm gonna walk into my house, and she's not gonna be there. And what God did is that I got out of my car and he gave me the strength to walk in. Because I've always had my own key to her house. Whenever I would walk into my grandmother's house, there will always be a light on in the kitchen or in the living room. Darlese, I walked in, there was a light. I think I should have drew already. I walked in, there was a light in the living room. And it came from the lamp where she always would sit when she was reading. And I'm pretty sure my uncle had been cleaning, doing stuff, but her glasses was on top of an open book, as if she was just there reading. And I walked in, I wasn't sad. It was as if I walked in and she was like, hey, Ray, or hey, Ramon. You know, she never called my Ramon, so probably Ray. What you doing, boy? I'm so glad you made it safe. Just what she would usually say was playing in my head. And I remember walking in, and all of that burden, all of that heavy load that I have felt the previous months from unemployment, having no place to live. I literally, and all the fear of coming to this woman's house by myself, it was as if it left me. It was as if as soon as I walked in, I just felt this release. And I remember putting my stuff down. And for the first time since she died, I felt the same feeling in that house, standing in that living room, as I would when she died, when she was alive. And I remember I would sleep on her bed. And my mama thought I was crazy because she was like, there's no way I could sleep on her bed. But what if you hear her voice in the bed at night? Hell, I want to hear her voice. I got some questions and some conversations, but I just felt comfort laying in her bed. And although physically she wasn't there, obviously, Darlese, when I tell you, I felt like my connection with her, my connection with God, because he knew that was the only way he was going to get me to come back. He knew that was the only way he was going to get me to go to the next step. And I haven't been the same since, in a good way. I felt this release. It took me to the next level of my grief and allowed me to heal some more. When my brother died, I think it allowed me, and it was literally the next day I got the call. So God really knew what he was doing. And I felt like it was just an amazing experience to heal at a point that I didn't feel was going to come anytime soon. And I think that where I'm at now is that clearly, as you know, I've gotten back my passion for the writing and the books, and I'm going back into that. That has brought me more joy. So although the joy and fire may not be at the level it was prior to, it's growing back. Remember, it was gone. I didn't give a crap about none of that stuff anymore, But I'm glad the passion and joy for that is back. What I feel recently happened that caused me to maybe digress a little bit, and you can help me unpack that, was, current job, I work with hospice patients. So every day I'm dealing with people who are losing their family. And I always wondered what was going to be the moment that I was going to have to deal with a case that was going to trigger me. And I finally got it last Saturday. Wow. And it was a person of color that was losing their dad. And I don't know, it was something in the voice that sounded familiar, like it sounded like her. It was just something in the voice that resonated with me. And what's that? Oh, it was something in my voice, that resonated with me. And I could feel it building up inside, like I want to cry, because it triggered how I felt in that moment when my cousin was calling and texting me and telling me we was losing her. And I was like, oh, I like to cry in front of people. So if I cry, I'm gonna be pissed the hell off. I cry at the job. So I remember putting on my headphones, listening to some gospel music, and I was good. I thought I was good. Got off work, went to a good friend's house who has been amazing. And we talked and watched TV and ate and had a good old time. I think I stayed for like 2 hours and went home. I'm in my car. Mind you, I totally forgot about what the hell happened at work. So I'm driving home, listen to gospel music. And as I pull into my street, Kalante Gavin, if y'all don't know him, listen to him. He's an amazing young man, 21-year-old, amazing gospel singer. But he has this song on one of his albums called No Ordinary Praise. That was a song I would listen to in the moment. As I pull into my street and park my car, I had a whole breakdown. Everything came out. Just came out in the car. So I'm like, oh, hell, here we go, right? But I didn't restrict it. I let it come out, which is, it's progress. So I get out of the car, I walk inside, the lights out because, I don't leave my lights on when I ain't there. And I saw something that startled me. Now, I have furniture from my grandmother's house, a chest, little other minor stuff in the kitchen, but I have this table in the middle of my floor. It's like an octagon. It has glass. She has had this stuff probably since before I was born, but it was a very, very long time she's had this stuff. So of course, anything that came from her house, including this picture you see behind me is her when she was younger, anything in here that came from her house, it has a sentimental value and it has memories. When I got startled, I fell back into the table. Everything you've seen in movies, it was just that. I literally fell back into the mirror, into the glass. Glasses everywhere. Cut my finger, but that's not an issue for me. I ain't cut it deep. My heart broke even more. This was my grandmother's table that she took care of and that she had for God knows how long. It broke my heart. I didn't break it on purpose. Clearly, it was not my intention. But as I sat there and just stared at this broken table, I felt like my heart broke even more. My head was flooded with memories. And do you know, up until this day, I'm looking at the table right now. Do you know, up until this day, I have not cleaned up that glass? Because in a way, I feel attached to this broken table because my heart is still broken. I've had a lot of progress. We know that. That's no secret. I thank God for that. And I know that there's no time limit. My heart still has some healing to do. And I still have some progress to make in some areas. But I feel stuck in a way because I still have this broken table. And because there's aspects of my heart that is still broken, it is hard for me to clean up this table.
Okay. You're putting physical attachment to glass, right? Throwing it away doesn't mean less than. Throwing it away doesn't mean that you're throwing some part of your heart away.
And that's what it is.
It doesn't have to be that. It's just glass. And if we perceive it as just glass and not as an attachment, an emotional attachment to throwing her away or throwing some pieces of our memory away, like you said, it's been close to 2 years. So this glass now that's broken, does that mean that's how things are going to go? If I throw the glass away, then I'm throwing some memory away. If I throw this glass away, I'm throwing her away. What is the physical connection? Right?
Yeah. I feel like I only have but so many things that remind me of her, that give me my memories. And the fact that this table, and if I can be truly honest, I was so resentful and angry at God for days. Because I said, I had a moment. Here I am trying to follow the right, I'm not trying to go back into the negative things I would do. I'm trying to do the right things. So I had this moment that triggered me at work. My first thing I did was turn to God. And I continued to turn to you for the entire night. I turned to you because I know at the end of the day where my help comes from. I know no matter what misunderstanding, God allows things to happen. We don't understand and we ask why this, why that. I know without a shadow of doubt, whether I understand what he does or what he allows or not, I know where my help coming from. And I look at everything else he's brought me through, health-wise and I come home. I allow myself to have this release with you when I broke down in the midst of praising you in my car. You allow me to come in my apartment. Knowing what this stuff means to me, I know it's just stuff, but knowing the memories, how could you allow me to fall onto this table and break it? And you knew how it was going to affect you mentally and emotionally. How could you allow that to happen?
You're back to being angry with God. Have you truly forgiven him for taking away the love of your life?
I think after a few days, after for taking her, I think I look at it differently.
Okay.
My grandmother was having health issues. She was taking a crap load of pills that she didn't like. She had to restrict her diet. So for me, I know she's happy. She ain't got to remember nobody pills. She get whatever she want. She gave me one hell of a life. My grandmother was out there in the cotton fields working her ass off at 11, 12 years old. My grandma has lived one hell of a life. She deserves to have some peace and rest. So I'm fine with the fact that he's taking her.
Okay. So now what's making you angry about this table being broken, right? As you see, I'm trying to help you to identify the table. Yes, the table belonged to her, right?
Right.
But how come you're so attached to this table and your emotions with it? So we have a couple of things that's happening. There was a trigger that took place at work, right? And we're kind of suppress it down. Nope. Okay, I'm going to be okay. So we're having the self-talk. I'm going to be okay. Went over the friend's house. We're still trying to avoid those emotional connections of this voice that you heard and what's going on. Now we go home and then this takes place. Really? This is what you're going to end up my day with? Really? I've been doing good. I've been counting on you. You've been there, quote unquote. I'm thinking you've been there. And this is what you made me do. So now we're back to being angry with God because how dare you? How did you, what made me startle for me to fall back of all days, of all these things that are happening?
You know something that's popped in your head? My grandfather is 83, 84. He was born in 37, so whatever that is, I can't calculate right now. I think what triggered me, now that you say all that, is that on the call, the person lost their dad. My heart hasn't completely healed from losing my grandmother. And I think I'm afraid to lose my grandfather before my heart heals from losing my grandmother. I make sure that I call him more. I make sure that I talk to him more. But I think it triggered me because I'm just so afraid to lose him, especially, or anyone else. And I still haven't encountered, or not encountered, but rebounded from losing her. I don't know how I would be, like, I feel alone now, what the hell am I gonna do if he leaves? And I think that's what it was. I think that's what it was. Or part of it. I don't think I'm really mad at God. I just think it's like, I need you to hurry up and let me heal so that if something else happened, I'll be able to heal it. But this happened, now I feel like I done regressed, and I'm just afraid something happens before, and even if it's not a death, I'm just afraid that something serious will happen. And I haven't even rebounded or healed. And I'm afraid of that because over the last 2 years, God allowed, and I now know it's with reason, because I now know he needed to break me all the way down to mold me back up to what he needed to be. So, I can say that in retrospect. But for 2 years, God allowed trauma after trauma to just pile up. And no matter how much I cried out to him and whatever, he never gave me release until he was ready for me to have release. And so, although that is no longer my life, I think I'm still so afraid that I can allow that to happen again. Instead of me just...
And then what would happen? What would happen if it happened again? If there was a traumatic event that has taken place for you, what would happen?
Well, I doubt myself.
I know. That's why I'm bringing you back, bro. Bringing you back. Right. What would happen? What would happen to Ramon?
Will I be able to handle it or make it?
Did you not?
Huh?
Did you not make it?
I have.
Okay.
I have. God has blessed it with you. My relationship with my sister, and I call people my sister. Blood don't make us no thicker, and I love them dearly. But I do have a biological sister. She's been amazing. I have an uncle, my grandmother's youngest son, my uncle Philip, has been an amazing support system, amazing uncle since my grandmother's passed. His oldest daughter, we're 4 months apart. We've always been close. I'm going to show you the picture. We literally been close before we could walk. Like, we've all been close. Shanice, that's my everything. And I realized that I have family that love the hell out of me. Because when she was alive, I really gave all my attention to her because she was my world. I feel like I was all I needed. But I have some family that love me, and you're right, and I even have some frat brothers. We've had those conversations where I feel about some of them. But I do have some amazing frat brothers that, 12 specific ones. But I do have some amazing frat brothers that have been there for me, and something that rings in my head. My line brother, one of them that I'm, I have a good relationship with. His name is Mickey, and he said to me in 2019. he said something to me that he probably even realized how impactful it was. And sometimes when I do get down on myself like this, it plays like in my head. He said I have to give myself a chance.
Mm-hmm.
When negative things happen to me, I think I automatically go to a place where I'm defeated. I automatically go to a place where it's going to be too hard. But if I give myself a chance and put one foot in front of the other,
Ta-da!
yeah.
Your support system has become so strong over the years. You know, you have really redefined who's there for you, who's about Ramon versus who wants Ramon to be about them.
Correct.
So your trust circle has come from here to now here, and these people are solid for you. So if something was to happen, all of these people are there for you. You could fall back. They got you. I got you, right? And the same work that you've done, you're going to do it again, right? It might be a little harder or a little easier. We don't know yet, but you'll be okay the same way that you're okay now, right? You're going to work to being okay. So is it like tomorrow's going to be like, oh, I'm good? No. Right. And, you know, one of the things that, and I don't know if you mentioned it before in other podcasts, but Ramon does not like to be touched. And I remember having to threaten him to give him a hug, and I didn't care what he was going to say, you know, and it's those things. It's like,
and now I'm good with it. I can let strangers or other people, I can let people hug me and touch me.
Wow. Wow.
That's crazy. What you mean? What?
Progress. So it's those things. It's your support system. It's understanding that you have people in your corner. It's understanding if you need a hug, there is someone that's right there.
And letting them in, knowing it's okay to let people in, because some of them have always been there. I just always had to guard them as if I had to keep it to myself.
Exactly. Right. So the glass is just glass.
Yeah.
You get another glass, you put it there. Right. Say that again.
I said, you make me want to clean up right now.
Yes, right. Safety first. First, right? It doesn't have to connect to a loss. It can be a win, right? It could be a win. It doesn't have to be a loss. And for whatever reason or whatever it was that started you, it was supposed to be. What do we do from this point on? How do we move up, right? We clean it up. We put the table back. If we're going to get another glass, we put another glass, because that table still represents something from her. It's not a loss. Your heart is being mended, right? It might take a little time, but your heart is being mended. And slowly, the glue is coming on. It's coming together the way it's supposed to, right? The struggle has been real. The struggle has been long.
Right.
But you look where you at now. Look at you.
I appreciate it. Yes. You know, so on that note, you know, I this is what I wanted to have. I wanted to have an authentic, transparent conversation to share your expertise, to be transparent and honest with the people who support me and listen to this, and they can relate to me on a different level. They can get to understand me on a different level. They can see what you do and how you have made a difference in me. And maybe you said something that's going to help them. You're going to hopefully you said something, or we both have said something that's going to benefit other people, you know? So I just want to thank you for taking the time out to do this. Thank you for always being in my corner and being my therapist. And if I'm calling, if I'm texting, you know, I just really, really appreciate you and thank you for how God has been using you in my life and other people.
You're welcome. You are quite welcome. And like I said, you know, I'm there for you. Good, bad, indifference. I'm here for you no matter what. So I'm glad you reached out, you know, and even though we're doing this via, you know, remote, or video, it's still the same for me. You know what I'm saying? It's still the same. It's, you know, making sure that you feel safe. You feel safe enough when something is happening that you can come to me and we can have a conversation and we can, you know, process everything that's taken place and what does it mean, and for you to be in a better place at the end of all of this.
And the last thing I want to share is it meant a lot, because you are very specific about making sure we're comfortable, that our heart and our mind is protected, because you made sure before we did this recorded video, I was good. And you made sure, you know, what are we going to discuss, you know, how comfortable I am. So the fact that you wanted to make sure that mentally and emotionally I'm at a good place before I come share my business with these people, that's just another level of how great you are as a therapist and how you take care of your patients. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I hope everybody enjoyed this. Thank you, everyone, supporting and tuning in. And once again, Darlise, you take care, and we will be in touch, of course. All right.
Awesome. Awesome. Bye. Take care.
Well, that's it for the zone today. We are officially shutting it down. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, remember this. Give yourself some credit. You survived so many things that you thought would break you, and you will survive anything you are going through or anything on the way. Stay strong. Holla.